Just waiting for the YouTube link to be turned on, and then we will begin. Okay, good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the North Planning Committee. We are running slightly later than intended. Apologies for that. I'm Councillor Eddie Labour, Committee Chairman. I'm now going to begin, please, with apologies for absence.
We've got no apologies.
Can I have declarations of interest? Do I take it I have none? I see no hands moving. The observant amongst you will have noticed that the minutes in your bundle are not the correct ones, so could I please ask we'll defer those till the next meeting? There are no matters that have been notified in advance or urgent. The agenda has substantially changed from the one that was published. Items 6, 7, 9 and 10 have been withdrawn from tonight's agenda. So 6, 7, 9, 10. So the running order is 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so we are down to one formal petition item because the petition item 11 was heard last time round, so there are no speaking rights on that item tonight. All the remaining items are in part one. Not that many of them, but they're all there. Okay. Tonight's meeting is on the Council's YouTube channel, so can be viewed on that. All of those who are sitting round this table are visible on the recording. Can I please ask everyone addresses their comments into the microphones to ensure they're picked up. Those who present a petition or speak to us at the table there will also be visible on the recording. Those who are sitting quietly in the audience can stay there, and you won't be visible at all. Speaking rights for tonight's meeting, in terms of item 8, the petitioners, and there are two petitions on this one in favour, one against, I believe, and the petition in favour has come from the applicant. So the speaking rights will be the objectors have 5 minutes, 4 minutes green, 1 minute amber, gets a red, you're done. The applicant then gets 5 minutes to explain the application from his perspective or her perspective, and I see there is a ward councillor present, and I presume Councillor Bianco will also have some words to say. Once all that is done, members will consider the application based on the report before them, the officer presentation we will hear in a moment, together with what petitioners have said. I will give the usual reminder, of course, that we will only take into account those issues raised which are planning matters. Sometimes we drift into other matters, and where appropriate I will have to pull that back to consider planning matters only. The voting members of committee tonight are, where have I gone? I've had a long session already today. I go down the table. Councillors, where we go? I'll do it off here, it's easier. Councillors Morgan, Traduciu, Flynn, Graham, Higgins, and then Councillors Catcher, Morse and Oswald. Okay? They will vote. I only get a vote if the world all goes wrong and you can't make your minds up. Could happen yet tonight, the way the evening's going. Matham Rangers doing highways. Mekarani is presenting for us. James Rogers is the head of planning. Luke Taylor from Democratic Services is my clerk. There are two legal officers sitting here, but Nicole Cameron is actually our legal officer for the night. Roshini is sitting in just to understand what we do. And without any further ado, I will move to item 8, 46 Burlington Close, Penna.
Thank you, Chairman. This application relates to 46 Burlington Close, which is a two-storey detached property of recent construction, constructed in the mid-1990s, along with a number of others that surround it. The application is for the conversion of the roof space to habitable use, and that includes a rear dormer and the conversion of both ends of the property to a gable end and a single-storey rear extension. There are no issues with the single-storey rear extension. It is identical to the one that was approved in 2015. The main issues relate to the conversion to the roof space and the hip to gable end, or the part hip to gable end, and the rear dormer. I can just have to try and work out how this works first. I have no idea. It's we've got the right, but it seems to be messing around. No, this button.
By the number we've drawn applications, they're sitting in the middle of it.
This button is
That's rather not helping.
right. There we go. Right. Those are the existing floor plans and the proposed. As I said, there's no issues with the single-storey rear extension. So if I go to the elevations, the main issue is the hepta gable and the dormer. And if I refer members to page 43 of the agenda and onwards, 44, you'll see that the council has an adopted supplementary planning document which sets out guidance on the design and size and scale of developments that it would find acceptable. In the document it states that even on rear roof slopes it is important to ensure that extensions are subordinate in scale and that they are in character with the existing property. This button seems to be... The buttons are... the buttons are getting...
Technical issues here with the...
Yeah, it's the buttons. There we go. So that's the existing elevations. You'll see that the property has what's called a Dutch gable. It's a detached property, so Dutch gables to both sides and to the front as well. And then that's proposed to be converted to a full gable end with the rear dormer. In terms of the rear dormer, the supplementary planning document states that it should be subordinate to the roof face to which it is within, and that clearly is not. It also states that it should not give the appearance of a flat roof third storey, and in your officer's view that is what we have here, and that is why the application is recommended for refusal. Thank you, Chairman.
There is a deletion of one of the refusal reasons?
Yep, there is. If I go to the supplementary, the report clearly states that in terms of the impact on adjoining occupiers, including privacy, there are no issues, and therefore refusal reason 2 should not be there. Thank you.
Okay.
So if I just... That's it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. We have a petition in objection. Ashley Whittick. If you press the red button when you're ready, then we will start the timer. Then it goes, yeah, grey goes red.
Right, my name's Ashley Whittick. I'm from number 41 Burlington Close. The first thing I'll ask is when the applicant comes along to state that they have people that say it's okay to build this extension, I would like to ascertain whether those were obtained from people that own the properties or whether they were renting the properties, because if they're renting the properties, people aren't really going to sort of care and they'll just sign up to anything. I have put together some information from this document, Development and Management Policies, Part 1, Part 2, and I've also got a document that was sent through to me today from the Planning Department that details about all of the recommendations that the Council have decided to talk about as to the reasons why. Now, again, I will just run through that the design of this roof extension would create a dominant, top-heavy appearance out of proportion with the rest of the building. If you actually look at this picture here, this is a carbon copy of one that has already been built, which really I'm quite sure shouldn't have been built at number 5. And that's how you can see how overbearing the actual property would be. The new roof extension appears to cover more than a third of the main roof, and they're not actually supposed to do that as per the plans that we have here, which is the document that was sent through to me. So the dormer windows are larger than the size of those on the first floor and do not compromise an individual window as per the stipulations in both this document and the document that we have here regarding rear dormer extension, loft conversions and roof alterations. You can see here you've even got a diagram here of what should actually be allowed and what shouldn't be allowed, and you can see that the plans on here are so much larger for the rear dormer than should actually be allowed. The windows and doors do not reflect the existing house in terms of their style, proportions and positioning, as the houses on the estate were never designed to accommodate roof extensions. It's just going to be total overdevelopment of the estate. The houses were built with little space as it was, and what with the addition of the rooms and the addition of the accommodation, eventually you are going to get addition of parking. And if you can see from one of the pictures here that there are already, you can see parking issues as it is. This is how the estate is at the moment, and even at night time we've got vehicles being parked on the pavement. If I take you to this picture here, this is my back garden. If you can just imagine how that is going to impose on my privacy and my neighbour's privacy and the privacy around the area. Myself and my neighbour will be directly overlooked because it's so high up and it's going to be looking down. We will have no privacy whatsoever. You can see that's my garden and that is the roof there and that is my kitchen. I will have no privacy whatsoever, and nor will my neighbour who I'm representing at the moment as well. No regard has been given to the character of the area. The extension will give the appearance of a block of flats, basically, or more like a Butlins holiday chalet, and it's just not in line with the character of the area whatsoever. The extension will not appear to be secondary to the size of the roof face within which it's set, and it will be as wide as the house and create the appearance on an effective flat roof, which again you're not allowed to do. And in the documents that were sent through to me again from the Planning Department, which is this document here, which is all about back building and extensions, you're not allowed to have that. So where are I'm trying to bring up this page here. Okay, well, yeah, I've shown you the photographs of what a rear dormer should be, and this is not like what a dormer should be. The rear dormer extension would result in an incongruous addition that would fail to harmonise with the existing house. It would be detrimental to the appearance of the original dwelling and the character and appearance of the surrounding area, resulting in the property resembling a block of flats. The increase in size of habitable space will no doubt ultimately result in an increase in people residing in the property, with a very high likelihood of an increase in the number of vehicles. There is already insufficient parking facilities within the Burlington Close estate, and this will exacerbate the issue and could ultimately result in emergency services vehicles being unable to gain access to the estate. I submitted... There you go, I'll finish there then.
Thank you. Turn the light off for me, thank you. No. I had the 5 minutes, I'm sorry, but I do have to be fair. Do members have any questions? No, thank you very much indeed. The applicant, I take it you're wishing to speak. Okay, when you're ready, please. If you press the grey button when you're ready, thank you.
Dear Chairman, councillors and members of the committee, thank you for giving my husband Mehul and I the opportunity to speak at this hearing. We recently got married and purchased 46 Burlington Close earlier this year for us to live in for the long term. We selected Pinner as it offers some excellent schools in the area, which is a key factor for us as we want to start a family. We have applied for permission to convert our loft into habitable use. That extra room will be very handy as a kids' playroom, study and storage. From any parent we've spoken to, the one thing they all say to us is that you can never have enough space. I'd like to run through our view on some of the points that were raised earlier. Firstly, privacy of the neighbours at the back of our property. As the planning report confirms, number 41 and 42 Burlington Close are set at an angle, and given the angle of those houses versus ours, there would not be an issue of direct overlooking between these properties. Given the distance between the houses, again, it was thought that there would be no overshadowing, no loss of sunlight, no visual intrusion, no overdominance or loss of privacy. I think the reality of the situation is that even with no loft conversion, with any residential close like Burlington, there is always some element of overlooking possible from one house to another, and each homeowner has to protect their own privacy by putting in curtains or blinds accordingly. By us going up one floor will not suddenly increase any overlooking. Secondly, the neighbours' petition. We raised a petition of 25 signatures from neighbours on Burlington Close who were in favour and support of our application. 6 of those neighbours had in fact initially objected on the previous petition but changed their minds once we explained who we were and why we were doing it. Our direct neighbours, 45 and 47, are in support of the application, as are the neighbours directly opposite us, numbers 1, 2 and 3. Most of the reasons for concerns were that we would convert it into a HMO and rent it to multiple tenants with multiple cars. We would like to reiterate our reasons for converting the loft is purely for our own personal use. In regard to parking concern, we only own one car which will be parked on our own driveway anyway, on top of which we also have a garage that has space for a car too. Thirdly, refusal hip to gable end. Before putting in planning permission to convert our loft, we looked at comparables in the area of others who had done the same. We saw number 5 had completed a loft conversion whose planning permission was approved by Hillingdon Council on the 31st of December 2015. As a reason for refusal, paragraph 7.4, 7.5, 7.7 and 7.11 of the Council's SPD HDAS Residential Extensions and Policies BE 13, 15 and 19 were quoted. I simply would like to state that the plans submitted for the hip to gable end are absolutely identical to the plans already approved by Hillingdon Council just 11 months ago for number 5. Number 5 Burlington Close has already completed that identical rear dormer, 4 front roof lights and conversion of roof from half hip to gable end to both sides. We are left rather confused by the recommendation for refusal and wondering if those policies have been quoted as reasons for refusal on our application, why were they not reasons for refusal for the other application, which is not only in the same borough and hence those policies should apply, but also on the same road and right opposite our house. We would also argue that our conversion would not impact considerably on the design, character and uniformity of the properties within the estate, and would not impact on the visual amenities of the street scene and the wider estate within which is set, purely because number 5 has already changed that street scene. This application would not create any impact because the impact has already occurred. In conclusion, to summarise, we have put in this application with 100% intent to use it for our own personal use. This conversion would not impact neighbours' issues on parking, nor would it increase any issues on visual intrusion or over-dominance. We have gained 25 signatures of support from neighbours on Burlington Close. Our plans are exactly the same plans already granted by the council for number 5 Burlington Close, and hence the policies quoted for refusal need to be re-looked at. We are a young couple looking to stay in this home for many years to come. Although I appreciate change can be unnerving for the residents who've been in the area for many years, unfortunately the housing situation in the UK has changed. House prices have changed. It's practically impossible for a couple like us to be able to purchase a decent-sized family property. We're just trying to create space within our own home in an efficient and affordable manner. We'd ask the Chairman, councillors and members of the committee to recommend an approval decision for this application.
Thank you. The issue you raised about number 5, I'm going to park for 2 minutes because you may have gathered that's causing some discussion around me. So for the moment, I'm going to park that one. Do members have any other questions they wish to ask the applicant? No. Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Bianco?
Mr. Chairman, gentlemen and lady, as the only ward councillor who isn't otherwise involved in this matter, I have been involved in this matter in that I have seen and read the output from both parties in the lead up to this evening, and indeed I've listened to both the petitions as they have been presented, as indeed you have. And I think that it's probably my quandary remains, and as a ward councillor, and we're all familiar with the issues, one often gets lobbied by both sides, and it's a difficult place to find oneself. Sitting on the fence is never pleasant. What does occur to me, however, and I'm sure is occurring to you, and I saw the flurry of activity by Mr. Roger and Mr. Cameron, is that clearly, looked at in isolation, it may well, and compared to the policies that the planning officer brought up earlier, there would be clearly a case to say, well, it's overdevelopment. Maybe a roof extension would be acceptable, but on a more modest basis that allowed for the outlook of the building, and so all right, you'd end up with 1 bedroom instead of 2, and maybe slightly smaller. The quandary, of course, is that bang opposite. And I've seen it. Bang opposite is exactly the same house, because all the houses in the street are variations of the same theme. Bang opposite is exactly what they want to do, and is pretty much, as the applicant has said, pretty much exactly what they want to do, and what they're replicating here. Now, I have sympathy, of course, with people who have been used to a particular outlook. It happens all the time in planning and in other issues in life, who have been used to a particular outlook that is now going to change. Change isn't pleasant, and change is always looked at in a detrimental fashion. I think the council finds itself in an awkward position. I think we'll end up looking at an appeal and defending something that seems indefensible. So I'd like to hear what James Rogers has to say, as I'm sure all of us would. Well, that's what I'm waiting for. And I would like to see an equitable solution to this, and I wish you both all luck.
Very much, Councillor Bianco, for that. I'm going to clearly relevant to our determination, so let's hear Mr. Rogers' view on that.
So there is a lawfully erected rear dormer to number 5. That is a material planning consideration. The rear dormer proposed to number 46 is contrary to our HDAS guidance. So you have 2 options. You can refuse this because it is contrary to our HDAS guidance, or you can approve it because there is a lawfully erected rear dormer to the rear of number 5. But the officer recommendation is to refuse because it is contrary to HDAS guidance.
Can I ask 2 questions before members ask them? Because I might as well. I might as well just lead this up tonight. Because sometimes we do get things approved under permitted development, which we might wish to not approve, but we are where we are. So was this permitted development? Is my first question. And the second is is this one bigger than what was approved at number 5? I think there are two relevant questions.
There isn't really much difference between this rear dormer and the one at number 5,
Okay, right.
is the simple answer. So, I wasn't party to the decision making at number 5, and I'm going to be very honest with the committee now. It was drawn to my attention 15 minutes ago by the legal officer, but she has a laptop, and it is there's definitely a authorised rear dormer to the rear of number 5. So I don't need to go away to check.
So in terms of
whether
clarity,
there's an authorised rear dormer at the back of number 5, because there is an authorised dormer at the back of number 5.
So in terms of clarity for committee, that was approved by Hillingdon Council Planning Department. I'm not going to ask how, but it was. That's what you're telling me. It's not PD. Was it PD?
Well,
Was it PD? Well, that is it. It's material.
so the legal advisor is advising me that it might be better if we would give you more information in a written report that in effect sets out any differences between number 5 and number 46, i.e. if there are some minor differences, one is a half metre less in width, because as I explained, I wasn't prior to this meeting party to all of the planning.
Well, I don't think we can determine this one at this point without understanding that, because if this council has said that 5 is acceptable, then that's material to 46. If it turns out it's permitted development, then why isn't this? So I think it needs to be deferred and come back. Are you going to propose me that?
I'm going to propose you that, yes, because it's just, you can't...
No.
Yeah, and I need to, and also, can I just, for clarity, it did not come to committee, number 5, did it?
I don't believe it.
No, I don't believe that's the case.
Okay, fine. Okay, delegation, so, yeah.
Councillor Flynn, do you want to add something, or are you just going to second that proposal?
I will second that proposal. I just want to know, actually, before I will second it, but how close actually is number 5 to this?
Opposite.
So if it is, yeah.
If members wish to look at page 48, which has the OS plan, it's on the plan there. So it's the third house.
At the end of the day, we're asking if this report to come back with...
Sorry, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because they go...
Greater clarity.
Yeah.
I second Councillor Higgins.
It doesn't matter. It's on the same estate. The principle is, yeah, exactly. And so we've got a proposal on the table that we're going to defer this one.
Excuse me, Chair, can we just also make sure that coming forward to the next committee, that if we were mindful to refuse this, then they would win on appeal if it's opposite. So
We'll ask for the report to be the same mistake. And I think that's as much as I could ask, because obviously what happens on appeal happens on appeal. To justify the differences, I think, as the head of planning has suggested, between the two, and then we'll see where that takes us. All those in favour of deferral, please clearly show. That one's deferred. Thank you. Sorry about that, but that was a curveball. Right, another curveball. Item 11, 3 Pikes End, we looked at last time. We deferred this one. If I can remind members, in essence, the planning position here is we may have views on what the first floor of this is going to look like, but in broad terms, we've said yes to that already in another application, so it's down to the ground floor. And we're going to have some photographs.
As the chairman has said, this was deferred specifically for street scene photographs, so I'll go directly to those. These are the original photographs that were available at the last meeting, and then you've got the additional photographs. This is the properties across the road. They're of a slightly different orientation, if you like. They're the same design, but the frontages are not viewable because they have projecting garages and boundary walls in front, so you can't see the frontages. You've got, this is the views opposite and towards Pikes End, or the end of Pikes End, and this is numbers 2 and 3. Number 2 is, again, although built at the same time, of a different design, so the only comparable designs are the properties numbers 3, 4 and 5. The others are different designs. These are 1 and 2 and 3, and as you can see, your 1 and 2 are different designs. They're flat roofed. They don't have as much projection as the other properties and single story at the front. So the only street scene views that might be of any use to you are these ones, which are the 3 properties that are exactly the same design.
And where's the infill bit going?
The infill bit, if I can go to the front of the property itself, is situated in this area here. Sorry.
In front of that white flat roof there.
So if you can go, as it were, to page 178.
Can I also just clarify in that photograph, is the property to the right, is that garage or whatever it is, or that wall situated forward of this one?
Yeah. It's again.
They're not in a line. No. One's forward of the other.
Yeah. So
I'm just making sure I understand what we're looking at. Does everybody see that? The one on the left is further back, and the one on the right is further forward.
The aerial view. So in fact, it might be a way the angle is, but that may not be the case. The garage that's projecting is that one, which is part of the application property. The adjoining property is set back behind that, so that garage is so if I can go back to the plans. So what you have there is, you can see the existing property here, and then the infill front extension is there, and then the first floor above that. The adjoining property is not in front of the number 3. It's difficult to tell, but it is the angle of the photographs.
But there is no real symmetry on this estate.
Well, there are 3 different distinct designs of properties, and the numbers 3, 4 and 5 are the same design, 6, 7 and 8 are the same design, and 1 and 2 are different. So yeah.
Right, views, people, Councillor Higgins.
Yeah, sorry, you said 3,
4 and 5.
Which are these 3 properties here. So they're the 3 properties that are the same design as the application, or the 2 properties plus the application property are the same design. So they're these 3. And then opposite the road you've got these 3, which are 6, 7 and 8. The properties are the same design, but the frontages are slightly different in that the garages are projecting further forward, and there's boundary walls and planting, so you can't actually see the ground floor at all of the properties.
So has any of the other properties that are the same had this infill already?
No, none of the other 2 properties, 4 and 5, don't have this infill.
But would it be the same if the other side? Would it look similar to the other side rather than?
No, because they're a different design. So the ground floor of these properties are not visible, although they are the same design of property as numbers 3 and 4 and 5. The ground floor layout is slightly different. There's a boundary wall here which is 2 metres high. The garages are projecting further forward, so you wouldn't see any front extension on these properties as you might in numbers 3, 4 and 5.
So just one further point. So officers are quite confident that they would win this on refusal over those 2 things. That slight infill that, to me, sorry, just a layman, I wouldn't have thought would make any difference at all, but, maybe I'm naive.
I think it is fair to say it's on balance.
It is on balance, but this is a conservation area, and
on balance
inspectors are more stringent in design on conservation areas, particularly in relation to messing with the design of the original property, so we would probably have a decent chance.
Okay, so you've seen as much as you're going to see. It is a very small ground floor infill. It is in a conservation area. It is an on-balance report. As Mr. Rani quite rightly says, planning inspectors can be minded in conservation areas to be more supportive. If it was elsewhere, I think we know what the answer would be, hands down. But equally, it is quite a small change. So, I think it's decision time, people. Are we going with the officer report or are we going in another direction?
I can't support
The officer report.
officer report. I just, my opinion is...
Fine. That's what I'm trying to get to with this.
Yeah,
I mean, we've
that's
seen
fine.
as much as we're going to see. We either now like it or we don't like
Okay.
it. Councillor Oswald, I saw, and then Councillor Casher, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because is it going to make any difference or not? It's on balance, as you say. But in the recommendations for refusal, it's quite clear in there that it's contrary to certain policies. So I think that the report is probably correct from the officers. So I'll move the officer recommendation and we'll see where we go from there, Chairman. Thank you.
I was going to come in. I'll see if I get support for that in a minute.
Thank you, Chair. I was just sort of briefly going to go back and say, yeah, it is rather difficult because when you're talking about the character of the houses, then we said they look all the same. You know, when you're looking at it, it's just the base of it and all that. So I do feel that, I don't know, are we happy with the, like it was mentioned by my colleague up there, when we do go by the officer's recommendation, how it's going to come about if there was an appeal? And
well, I think we know we're probably sitting on a fence a little bit. But Councillor Oswald has goes. I think that's a fair way to do this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As I say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. How these ever won awards, I don't know. They are in my ward. I know this area very well. To be honest, I think if we infill that area, we are taken away from the natural symmetry of those buildings. And therefore I'm more likely going to fall with the officer's recommendations.
You will second that for me. I'm going to put that to the vote.
I will second it.
Because clearly people are going to have two views on this. If there's a majority goes with the officer report, then we know where we are. So all those in favour of the officer report, which is for refusal, please clearly show. What have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to know where this one's going. Then all those against, please clearly show. 2 and 1 abstention. 5, 2, 1. That one's refused. There we go. Item 12, which is 1 Barrington Drive, Harefield, ground-mounted solar panels. I think pictures help on this one as well.
Yeah, very, very quickly. Members may know the history of this site. The embankment was built up. This is what it looked like after the works were done, the wall and so on. And currently there is some planting. It looks like that, although the planting doesn't fully comply with the landscape plan that was approved as part of the embankment works that were approved. The tree officer's comments are quite pertinent to this. If you were to carry out the landscape works, then in essence the solar panels wouldn't work. So it's a question of losing the landscaping if you're allowing the solar panels, or keeping the landscaping is the issue really. And in your officer's view, the landscaping is...
the landscaping wins on this occasion. Is that it?
That's it.
Right. Councillor Higgins?
I'll go with officer's recommendation, and furthermore, can we also, are we going to be taking enforcement?
We'll leave that to
please.
another day. Seconded. Any no alternative views, I'll take it. All those in favour, please clearly show. That one's refused. We then move up to Harefield Hospital, where we're with bus stops. Agenda item 13.
Yeah, this is mini roundabout and range access and bus shelter within the site. Again, if I go directly to the plans, this is it does involve some works which may remove some grass areas, but it does allow the bus to turn much easier, makes access easier for the users of the bus stop as well. So your officers are saying that it is acceptable and we're recommending a landscaping condition as well. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Gaze, I think.
I'd like to move officers'
I knew that's what you wanted to do. Anybody's got a second? Councillor Morgan. No, I'm going to Councillor Morgan in this case. Before I do that, has anybody got anything else? Nobody got anything to say on it? All those in favour, please clearly show. Okay. The next one is, this would be described as an infill development as well, but it's in the middle of Harefield Hospital, so it's probably slightly different.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'll move the officer's recommendation.
Item 15, land adjacent to Park Cottages, the Oaks, Ruislip.
Yeah, very tight site. The site itself is this section here. Number 1 and 2 were sort of mid-19th century cottages that probably were part of the curtilage of the public house, and what there's being proposed is an additional dwelling which removes any of the amenity space that belongs to number 2 and to the parking also that goes with number 2. These are the original buildings, and then this is the proposed extension, new dwelling to it. The conservation officer has again made some comments on this, and she's saying that it is totally alien to the design of the existing buildings within the conservation area and is unacceptable on that basis. If I can show you again, there are no windows in either of these, and then you have a different roof shape that's being proposed next door, and sort of windows that are being inserted which have no relationship with the windows on the existing properties. So there's a number of design issues as well as the loss of the parking and the amenity space. Thank you, Chairman.
And the addendum, just to be fair, the applicants have submitted a statement in the addendum which I would draw committee members. You don't need to read it through, but I would draw members' attention to because it's part of your determination tonight. Okay.
I agree with the officer, so I'd like to agree with the officer's recommendation.
Has anybody got any alternative views? No. Okay, all those in favour of refusal, please clearly show for me. Thank you, that one's refused. Can I ask you to note item 16, the S106 report? Thank you. 8:14, thank you for your time.